Hello, I'm going to do a video on inversions and handstands and exercises that I like to do to try to get there. I am not great at it. I just started doing it in March when everything was shut down. And so I've been playing around and I haven't had time to play with it for a couple months now. So as soon as you start to get better at something, it go back very quickly. But I'm going to just show you what I have, and I hope that you can play around and you can see that a lot of these other people make it look super easy and it's really not. So I promise I will not make it look easy. I will struggle, but that's okay. Hopefully you'll enjoy doing it with me and trying to learn how to do these inversions that take a lot of strength and mobility, and they're kind of fun at the same time. So one thing that I really like to do beforehand, um, well, is get your body warmed up. So I do have a cardio strength stretch video, which is part one of this. If you would like to do that first and come back so you're nice and warmed up, it's easier to do these when you're really stretched and warm. I also have a headstand video if you would like to try that one before this one. Shoulders and abs, I feel it are some of the strongest things you need, as well as wrists, wrist flexibility and wrist strength. So the first thing I like to do is I like to warm up with a bear crunch. Hands are right below your shoulders. I spread my fingers out. You can also use them on weights as long as they don't roll or parallettes if you have really bad wrists. Go ahead and put your toes underneath, and you're going to just lift those legs up a little bit right here. Curl your hips underneath. To make this harder, walk your feet forward and lean over those shoulders. We're going to hold this for 30 seconds. Go ahead and start. Eventually, we would like to take our feet up and hold this, but that is very hard. Halfway. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and drop down. Roll your wrists. Hopefully you've warmed these up. If not, take the time to do that right now. Maybe pause the video and do some wrist stretches. The other thing is a pseudo planche hold. First, I'm going to do with my arms straight with my feet on the ground. You can have your hands, your fingers out 90 degrees or all the way behind you, and you're just going to lean as far forward as you can over those shoulders. Once again, eventually it would be great to lift our feet up. Go ahead and hold. I'm going to hold this for 20 seconds. Halfway. You could lift one leg up if you wanted to. Lift the other. You can put your feet on something, make it harder, and go ahead and drop down. Now, to work those shoulders and your abs, I would do 3 sets of 20 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and go into a real pseudo planche. You can join me or you can keep doing that. This one, I'm going to put my hands all the way back this way. I'm going to tuck my elbows into my sides, and I'm going to try to lift. I'm going to bend my arms and lift my feet up. So I'm here, lift up, and I'm going to hold this for 20 seconds. And down. Roll your shoulders, stretch your wrists out. The first inversion I'm going to do, well, besides the pseudo planche, is I'm going to do the crow or the frog stand. It's a great one to start with. If you're uncomfortable with it, grab a pillow, or you can have a mat. Have it in front just in case you fall. You do need to lean forward. So for frog stand, you're actually putting your knees on the outside or right on your elbows, and you're just going to hold right here. If you fall, you have the pillow right there, and it's going to hold you. That way you don't feel like you're going to fall all the way down. For a crow, I'm going to sneak them under my armpits a little bit, still bending my elbows and lifting my legs up, and try to hold this for 20 seconds. And down. Once again, roll the shoulders, stretch the wrists out. You can have that pillow there, just kind of a safeguard, kind of helps you. So if you have that, you can start to do flying crow. So one leg goes on, And one leg comes up. Just like that. You can alternate arms. I'm going to kind of go through it a little bit quicker. But you can start to hold that. And then eventually it's nice to try to get those knees inside, which I really am not there yet. So sometimes if you're holding here, you can try to bring one leg in, try to bring it out, give the other leg in, bring it out. Eventually our goal is to not have to use our arms for our legs, but just have them floating on the inside or the outside. A little bit easier on the outside. You can float them a little bit more because you're still using your arms to kind of help hold them. But it's all going towards the right direction of really increasing that strength in your shoulders, flexibility in your wrists, strength in your stomach. So the next one, I saw a yoga person do this right off the bat on this class, and I was just shocked. I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh, that's easy. I do that all the time. So I'm going to go down, have my leg right over here. This is where my flexibility, you're going to notice it's not great. I'm going to curl my toes as far as I can out, flex my feet. I'm putting my elbow right into my foot. And I'm going to lift my leg up and hold. And eventually, I have to do it here. I did it a second ago. You can go to flying squirrel. But I'm not able to get into that position right now. And down. Once again, if you have time, go ahead and do that. Try that on both sides. Next one, I'm just going through all the ones that I can kind of do that I'm still working on. Side crow. Facing forward, I'm going to twist my body all the way to the side. The hand that's in front is going to get most of that weight. So if you have one wrist that's better, maybe work on your good side first. I'm going to go sideways and just try to hold myself up. And eventually you can play with your legs. And then maybe try the other side. You'll see how that wrist gets different weight. And one side's a little more flexible than the other, usually. And hold. And you can play a little bit. Then, side flying crow. I know there's lots of different names. I'm going to go ahead and start with that leg out. And then lift it. And hold. And down. So if you had the video before with the headstands, you can start to play with that a little bit. You can start in crow, wherever you want to start. And gently try to get your head down to a headstand. Up. You can try to go to the side. Lift up and down and just play. See, that was not so graceful. Start playing with those a little bit and work on them. I was getting pretty good at those a couple of months ago, but haven't worked on them. That's okay. I get to work on it with you. So I'm going to move on to handstands now. If you don't want to do handstands, you can go ahead and stop the video. In the future, you can just bypass the first part and just get right to the handstands. Handstands. Straight body, if you can. Eventually can be the easiest because everything is stacked. You're not using one part of your body more than the other. It's all working together straight up and down. But to do that, it's important to have a straight body and figure out what that is. With your knees up, lower back to the mat. Try to get your arms overhead and flat on the mat as much as possible. Then, try to straighten your legs, keeping that lower back to the mat. You're going to have to really use those abs to really push that back down. You're tilting your hip towards the ceiling. As those arms go back, your lower back's going to want to come up. That's where you see the arch in the handstand. We're trying to avoid that arch. And then gently come up. To also do a handstand, I highly recommend that you know how to do a forward roll. I'm going to use this mat. You could use 2 cushions in a row, and that would work. So, for my mat, I'm going to put my hands, I'm going to start with my hands on the mat, tuck my chin as far as I can to my chest, and keep it there the whole time, and really roll. You want to round back, not flat. So I'm going to tuck, and I'm going to roll. Notice my chin doesn't come up at all until I'm standing up. One more time. Unless you have a super stretchy back and you can go into a front bridge out of your handstand or a front walkover, I recommend you know how to do a forward roll. Tucking my chin, and I'm going to roll. That way, when you eventually start doing handstands, you can start to put your hands on the floor. Hands on the floor, tucking and rolling. And just getting higher and higher until eventually you can get to that handstand. Tuck and roll. When I do my handstand, my fingers are as far as they can be. I am using every part of my fingers, my wrist, my palm. Everything is helping to hold me up in balance. To start your handstands, you can easily just start with an elevated plank here. And then start to move your hands back, trying to get that body straight on top. Those are actually almost harder than being straight on top because you still have a little bit of that weight, more weight backwards on your shoulders. Then you can move to something higher, your feet on the couch or anywhere else. You can be on the wall, like a 90. You can move as far back as you're comfortable, getting really tight on that wall. And hold. And then you can walk back. You can have your mat right in front of you. So if you start to fall over, you can tuck and roll. Or you can kick with your back to the wall. And that's fine. Just getting used to being straight on top. You really want to engage your shoulders. Get those arms super straight. Little shoulder flexibility. I don't have a lot, but you do need a little bit to try to get those shoulders open, nice and straight. So kicking to a handstand this way. Nice and tight. And you can try to put one leg off. And then you can try to balance off the wall, using that wall just if you need it, and come down. So those are your different options on handstands. Sometimes it's easier to just have one leg straight and one leg bent, or sometimes people like to have a split or a stag split, and you can hold that for a long time. If you practice any of those, just make sure that you know how to either tuck and roll or get out of that pretty easily if you go over, because you probably have more of a tendency to go over on a split handstand than straight. So I'm going to try one leg straight up. I'm going to spread my fingers and I'm going to really try to hold it. Once I find my balance, I'm going to try to put the other leg up and hold. Just practice, practice. I find it's easier when you get comfortable for a harder floor. If I do that on the mat, I'm not going to hold it as long. It's just that little inflection on the mat that just is harder to balance. It's a lot easier on a harder floor than a softer floor, unfortunately. I feel like I can hold a handstand for a really long time on a hard floor. Once I get to that little tiny mat, my time goes down significantly, but I still need to practice it. So from there, once you practice those, you feel like you can hold them and you want to get a little farther, I'm working on my press handstands, which I haven't been able to do since I was a little girl because I'm not as flexible and bigger. My body has changed, but I'm still going to try. Here are the exercises I do for some of those. Sitting down, legs in front. Go ahead and pull up on your toes. You're going to stretch your gastroc and your hamstring and your ankles. Hold here. Gently let go. Other side. Same thing. Then I'm going to stretch forward. I'm going to try to get my stomach, not just my chest. I'm trying to get my back as straight as I can and going forward as far as I can. I'm going to hold this for 20 seconds. Then I'm going to do leg lifts. Shake it out a little bit. I put my hands farther in front. If you're back here, that's okay. If you can only do one leg at a time, that's okay also. I'm going to do 2 rounds. Here I go. 10 of them. And then one more time forward. Holding that for 20 seconds. Shake it out. 10 more. And shake that out. I usually do 5 sets of those. We're just going to do 2 today. And then I also try to hold an L for about 10 to 15 seconds because I count fast. I count to 15, but it's probably 10. You can hold a tuck, however you want to do that. I'm going to try to hold this for 15 seconds. I'm going to go on my fingertips. You can go flat or you can have weights or parallettes. Here we go. So hard. All right, straddles. Then I go to straddles. These are even harder. Trying to do a pancake stretch. Try to get your knees towards the ceiling or a little farther back and walk your hands out. Trying to keep that back as straight as you can, as far as you can, holding for 20 seconds. And 10 leg lifts. Same thing. You might be back here or in front. Here we go. Shake it out. I'll even do a little extra stretch back here inside of my feet. Try to keep my back straight and really pull down on those legs for 20 seconds. And then bring those legs together. One more time. I'm starting to try to do the straddle hold, but I would not dare show you that right now. Maybe the next video when I get closer. So, forward, hold. I still have a long way to go. This is why the press handstands are so hard for me. If you can get that belly down to the mat, they're way easier. I have to use too much strength. Flexibility and strength are definitely a bonus. 10 leg lifts. And then bring those legs together. One more big stretch back here. And a couple things you can practice on the floor. Go ahead and straddle, hands in front, and you're just going to go on your tippy toes, hips up, just trying to get your heels next to your hands. See if you can hold it for a second. Nice and slow. Right there. And you can do like 5 forward and 5 back. just practicing that, getting that movement, that strength in your shoulders, your stomach, your hip flexors. Then I'm going to move to the wall. I have done the press handstand without the wall recently, but it's not pretty. So the next video, I'm going to have it. I just know it. So I'm going to go against the wall. And I'm going to bounce here for a couple seconds, just getting that extra stretch. You really want to try to get your hands or your feet as close to your hands and curl those hips up. Graceful. I'm going to try one more time. Come on. I can tell if I'm too close to the wall. Today's not such a great day, but that's okay. We have good days and bad days. Yesterday I was very close without the wall, um, but I'm just going to keep working at it, get better and better. And I usually try to do 10 of those, like at least 4 times a week. So I hope that you can practice, and I'd love to see what you can do and how quickly you can learn and where you can go. Thank you.